happening today. Justices in the U.S. Supreme Court will be hearing a case from the state of Arizona. A convicted killer is fighting for what is likely his last chance to avoid the death penalty. James McKinney, you might remember, and his half-brother were sentenced to death by a judge. That was back in 1993 for 2 violent murders in a burglary spree. Our John Genovese joining us now. John, this case making it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, and Kaylee, a lot of appeals and rulings to get to this point with several different factors at play. And keep in mind, this is only McKinney's case being heard in front of the Supreme Court today. His half-brother's case is separate. Now, McKinney's attorneys argue that his PTSD was not considered when a judge sentenced him to death. Now, McKinney's half-brother, Charles Headland, is also sitting on death row for his involvement in these double murders of Christine Martins and Jim McClain. Both were living in Chandler at the time. Now, Martins was home alone when she was beaten, stabbed, and shot in the back of the head. McClain was sleeping when he was shot. Now, the Arizona Republic reports that in court records, McKinney was physically, emotionally, and verbally abused as a child. He and his siblings reportedly shared a feces-covered bedroom with several animals. Procedures have now changed, and death sentences must now be determined by juries and not judges. That's a key factor in the argument in front of the Supreme Court today. Also, a rule that existed in Arizona for around 15 years meant a condition like PTSD must be directly tied to a crime for it to be considered a factor in the crime. That rule has since been found unconstitutional. Now, what the Supreme Court ultimately decides could have an impact not just here in Arizona, but in other states as well that had these similar procedures and policies. This is something, Kaylee, that we'll certainly continue following, especially when a ruling on this case is made.
All right, our John Genovese live this morning. Thank you very much for that update. We appreciate it. We are working